In that mutual mastermind that we were in, and both you and your business partner talked about how you built the 7-figure business, but broke the machine in the process, which is good in a lot of ways. Also comes with a lot of pain points as you're like busting through walls, and basically anytime your business triples, most of your systems don't work anymore. You have to rebuild them because they weren't equipped for that type of volume or structure or process. So going from 6 to 7, especially that quickly, I mean, you went through multiple phases and you just skipped all of that, and you limped along and you made it. And then now you've right-sized it. So how would you go back and what do you think it was? I guess the hindsight's always 2020. But if you could go back, would you build that differently, even though knowing that it may take you a little bit longer to get to the 7 figures? And how did you eventually end up building it the right-sized way?
That's a fantastic question. And it's funny, I was just talking with Don Costa, my partner at Flip Talk Education, last weekend about that. It was one of the things we were kind of talking about is, would you change anything in the past? Now, it's easy to say now that I wouldn't have, because, I made it through and I'm on the other side. But the other thing we were kind of talking about, and it's something I don't know the answer to, is would I have even listened? Right. And I think that's where a lot of people, that when they're trying to look to start this and really build their business into something truly big, is we're all looking at the rose-colored lens that people portray out there in social media, on Facebook, whatever it is, because, the only thing that people want to share is the positive sides for the most part. I mean, there's people out there that are totally open and raw, but you don't hear about the downsides too often. And really, a lot of the mistakes we came down to was exactly what you said. We tried growing too fast. We were chasing a number to be the biggest, investor in the room. We wanted to be the biggest this, the biggest that, the best this and best that. Well, there's a difference between being the biggest and being the best. And what we found was, we could generate big numbers, but to do that, we scaled so fast that, just what you said, the systems and processes were broken. And we were just throwing patches on things and trying to herky jerk, put a lot of systems in place, put people in place. And, we had this big team, we had this big revenue, but at the end of the day, we weren't super profitable. There were times we weren't profitable at all. And that is an increasingly and incredibly stressful position that you can find yourself in. I've seen businesses scale themselves out of business because they try to grow too big, too fast. And what I would tell myself then is, you can't rush through the process. There is no get rich quick. I mean, for every one person, I think that really is that kind of like lightning in a bottle and finds success really fast and it's sustained. I think there's probably 100 to 200 more people that, you don't hear about because of survivorship bias. You only hear about the successes. You don't hear about everyone that's failed.
Absolutely.
So yeah. And if it was to go back again, and still be the person I am today, I guess that's what the caveat that we had is, we don't want to change who we are, who we became from the lessons we learned. But I would say, be patient. It's a marathon, not a race. And you end up doing way more work and having way more stress if you don't, kind of almost organically and controllably grow your business, because it's just too easy to get out of your control. And it's too easy to try and, all of a sudden you have fires on all these different fronts, and it's really hard to fight a battle, if you're trying to cover, 7 different angles.
Yeah. And you pointed out to the fact that what really matters is the bottom line. Like the top line, 7, 8 more figures. But at the end of the day, if you're not profitable, like, what's the point? And that strategy is going to be different if you're running like the Silicon Valley. You've got the next greatest trendy thing that's going to change the world, like Facebook or something. But when you're running a small, very localized business like real estate, that's got a lot of risks, and you have your money on the line, and you're maybe a small team or even a solopreneur, it's a little different, and the stakes are higher for you personally. It comes down to, are you making money? And maybe doing 7 figures the way you did it before, or busting past through it, maybe that actually puts you in the red. Or you end up doing so much extra work for how much extra net in your pocket. Like if you could scale back and maintain a higher profitability, is that worth it for you? And for a lot of people, the answer is probably yes. The chasing the sexy, hey, I'm out there doing 10 deals a month and look at me on my boat or whatever. It seems very, it's very attractive, but when you get behind the scenes, there's a lot of headaches that come with that. Even for the ones that actually make it, there's still a lot of headaches.
And that's an incredibly valid point that most people don't see. Most people don't show behind the curtains. When you're running a big operation, that means you're not even really doing much investing anymore. You're managing people, you're managing a business, you're managing processes. And if you haven't ever done that before, I'll be the first to tell you, it's pretty different adjustment from running the numbers and working one-on-one with sellers or buyers. When you're trying to manage personalities and get the most out of them, you don't even know what to actually ask them to do sometimes at first. You don't know how to properly communicate with them or set expectations or hold them accountable. It's a pretty steep learning curve. And then if you're trying to grow super fast and you're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people at the same time, what I've found is you end up not having enough time to dedicate to that person and dedicate to making sure it's done right. So one of the things that I really have been focused on, talking with different and new investors and people that are trying to stabilize or grow their businesses, make sure you get really good at the foundational stuff. And I think that gets lost because everyone wants to find the newest, shiniest object that it's the latest and greatest, can make you an overnight millionaire and not have to work sitting on a beach and Mai Tais and all of that. But really the people that are the most successful, the ones that have been around for the most time and are the most wealthy, are most of the times the ones you have no idea who they are, because they've been doing it. They have their system set up. They're not flashy about it. They've built the machine that suits their lifestyle. And that's really been my focus, especially when we partner up with Don, is how do we help people build a better business? And that just goes back to me realizing I was chasing a number and kind of other people's goals to try and feed my ego more than I was paying attention to what my goal was, which was more time and financial freedom to spend with my family, my friends, and have cool experiences. I mean, it went a year or two where I forgot to buy a rental or passive income property because I was so stressed out and so focused on trying to fix all of the problems that crept up when we were building our machine and the machine was running, and you just had to keep finding what was breaking down.
Yeah, it's a car running downhill so fast that now one wheel's falling off and you got to go and repair that. Meanwhile, like the engine caught on fire, and then like you've got some employees hanging out of the other half of the car. It's like all this stuff you got to do and still maintain direction, which is challenging.